The cock crowed, slicing through the dawn like a cruel reminder of everything Ada had given up. She blinked against the drowsiness, her bones aching from yesterday's hustle, but she had no choice. Namdi needed his breakfast before heading out. She swung her legs off the thin mattress, her bare feet meeting the cold cement floor of their uncompleted house, a house with no ceiling and dreams that constantly leaked like rainwater through the cracks. But at least they cooked together, washed together, and danced every night to ease of their stress. Namdi worked as a mason on a massive mansion project in town, but the job brought little joy. Despite the backbreaking labor under the hot sun, he barely earned enough to survive. Their bosses were greedy and heartless, often delaying or slashing their wages without reason. Every evening, Namdi would come home exhausted and frustrated, ranting nonstop about the unfair treatment and how he deserved better. At first, Ada listened with sympathy, but over time, his constant anger and bitterness began to change him. He became colder, more withdrawn, and easily irritated. Ada had no choice but to learn a skill. Money was getting harder to come by with each passing day, and sitting idle was no longer an option. She enrolled in makeup and hair-making classes, hoping it would lead to something better. But starting the training was anything but easy. Every day felt like a battle. She juggled long hours at a small pharmacy, her part-time job, with the demands of her training and the weight of her responsibilities at home. Learning a skill didn't bring in any money, and the little she earned barely covered her rent, transport, and food. She was stretched thin, physically and emotionally. There was no time for herself anymore. She wore plain clothes, never bothered with makeup, and kept her hair in tight, all-back cornrows. Life had stripped her of glamour, and her boss at the pharmacy only added to her stress. "Ada, are you mad? Every day you rush out of here like your father owns this place," he barked one sweltering afternoon as she reached for her bag. "Sir, please, there's an emergency at home," she replied quickly, not meeting his eyes. Her heart pounded as she adjusted her cheap synthetic wig and dabbed sweat from her forehead. But there was no emergency, only the desperate need to get to class before the instructor locked the doors. If she was late again, she risked being sent home, and after hours of learning, she still had to rush back home to cook and clean before Namdi returned from work. Namdi had become a different man since he got the masonry job at the construction site. He no longer helped with anything. The things they once did together, laughing while cooking, cleaning side by side, dancing barefoot in their tiny room, had all faded into memories. Now Ada did everything on her own. She used her last coins to make sure the house was in order, just so he wouldn't complain. But she never voiced her frustration. She told herself this was just a phase. She tried to believe that she was content. Despite everything, Ada was a fast learner. She had a natural flair for braiding and makeup, especially contouring. Her instructor noticed it too. "You're improving fast, Ada. You have golden hands," the woman said one afternoon. Ada smiled, her throat tightening. It was the first time in months that someone had seen her, really seen her, and offered her something other than criticism. Months passed and Ada finally graduated from the makeup and braiding school. When she held her certificate, her hands trembled with joy. She couldn't remember the last time she felt that proud of herself. Now things would change. She could finally start earning. Life would get better. Maybe, just maybe, they'd finally get married. Within months, she started doing home service, visiting clients to style their hair, or do their makeup for weddings, birthdays, and small events. She would squeeze her schedule to accommodate these jobs, sometimes waking up as early as 4 a.m. to beat traffic and make it to a client's house before returning to clean the house and make dinner. One night after dinner, as Namdi sat by himself, he started to get jealous. Why is everything going on with Ada, and things at the construction site is barely working out for him? He had to act fast. He had to be wise before Ada makes it and start being proud, he thought to himself. Women like the idea of marriage and building a life together. Let me use that technique to use Ada to make my life better before it's too late. Whilst he was making all these evil plot, Ada was washing dishes in the kitchen. He gently went behind her and said, "Babe, I've been thinking, like really thinking. I want to start something serious, a real estate business." Ada pauses and looks up at Namdi. "Real estate? You mean selling land and all those things?" No be just land, Onamdi responded. I want to open my own construction company, build houses, renovate, manage sites. That's where the real money is. And I've been following some guys online, and they are really cashing out from this hustle. If we play this thing well, we are going to blow big time. But how are you going to start? Ada asked curiously. By your help, babe. I really need your help a lot, Namdi said with a sad face. Babe, once this thing picks up, I will move us out of this uncompleted house, I swear. We will live in a fine duplex such that you won't even remember how struggle tastes like. You sure? Ada said, smiling. I sure die, my love, in that wedding you always wanted. I am going to make it big, like the kind that's going to be all over Instagram for months. Your parents will look at the pictures and say, this is really our daughter. Ada replied with a melting heart, saying, I've dreamt of that kind life for years, Namdi. If this dream will lift us both, then why not? I will help. When it works for you, it works for me too. Namdi gently kisses her forehead and said, Thank you, my Ada. You always believe in me. I will never fail you. You better not, oh Ada said teasingly. If you blow and forget me, I will find you wherever you are. Namdi laughs, rolling up his sleeves. Oya shifts small. Let me help you wash these plates, Jar. Incoming CEO. Who knows how to do house chores? Ada laughed loudly. Hen. This one sweet me pass. They washed the dishes together, laughing and teasing, unaware of the betrayal brewing ahead. But for that moment, hope felt real, and Ada's heart full. 2 weeks after their heartfelt conversation, Ada began putting action behind her words. Every job she took as a home service makeup artist, every small braid or hurried eyebrow shaping, she set a portion aside for Namdi's dream. Even when her body ached from long hours or her eyes stung from lack of sleep, she kept pushing because she believed in the vision they shared. One evening, after a long day, she handed him a brown envelope filled with her earnings, nearly 80,000 naira. Namdi stared at it in surprise and asked, Ah, babe, all this money for me. You mean it? And with a tired smile, Ada replied, Yes, it is, because when it works for you, it works for me too. I'm heading to work now. I will see you in the evening, she said whilst walking away. This continued for months. He got a new place and a few clients here and there. But he wanted something big, something that's going to change his life in a twinkle of an eye. Every evening he would lay in bed, thinking about how to blow because Ada does, unknowingly to Ada. And because Ada didn't want to see her man stressed, she told the opportunity when it came. Ada was working in a luxurious duplex in Lekki, preparing a client for a high-profile wedding. The client, Mrs. Ngozi, a wealthy woman who commanded respect with perfectly manicured nails, complained bitterly about the work on her site as her foundation was being blended. I'm so tired of these unreliable construction workers. I have a property I'm flipping, and I can't find anyone serious to finish it. Ada paused for a second, then smiled and replied immediately. Ma, my fiancé does construction. I promise you, he's very good, focused and talented. You should see what he can do with very little. He's not going to let you down at all. Are you sure, young lady, Mrs. Ngozi said. I don't any disappointment. He won't disappoint you, Mom. You're literally going to be shocked at the speed and quality of his work. All right, Mrs. Ngozi replied. Tell him to be in Lekki tomorrow morning. I'll show him the property myself. Okay, Ma. Okay, Ma. Thank you so much. God will enrich your pocket, Ada said happily. That evening, immediately, she closed from work. She called Namdi and told him the good news. She giggled and dressed happily on her way home. As she got to the gate, Namdi was already waiting outside, pacing with excitement. The moment Ada walked into the compound, he rushed to hug her, lifting her off the ground. Ada! Babe, God bless you. This is the kind of opportunity I've been praying for. Ada smiled, happy to see him happy. I told you it'll happen. You just needed a little push. What she didn't know was that as Namdi hugged her, his mind was elsewhere. This is it. This is the break I've been waiting for. I'm going to blow, but not with her. Ada, who was also social media savvy, helped him create Instagram and TikTok accounts at Namdi Builds. She filmed him at work, added cool transitions, trending music, and posted religiously every evening after her own long day. The account started gaining traction. Within weeks, his work was being shared and reshared. People began calling. Opportunities poured in. And so did attention come with fame and opportunities, betrayal. And so did attention come with fame and opportunities, betrayal. As Namdi's construction business began to flourish, so did the company he kept. The once humble man who found joy in cooking with Ada and dancing with her in their modest home now found himself in the company of a different crowd. Wealthy contractors, smooth-talking influencers, and successful entrepreneurs who constantly fed his ego. One of the most influential voices was that of Tunde, a polished real estate consultant. Namdi met at a luxury property exhibition in Lekki. Tunde drove a sleek Range Rover, wore designer labels, and carried himself with the confidence of someone who had mastered the game of wealth and status. Everything Namdi aspired to become. One evening, while having drinks at a rooftop lounge, Tunde casually said, "Bro, you're still living in that unfinished house with your girl?" Namdi laughed, slightly embarrassed. "Yes, I am. She's been with me since the beginning. In fact, she helped me start everything I have now." Tunde raised an eyebrow, taking a sip of his drink. "I hear you, but let me ask, would you bring dirty water into a presidential suite? You're a big man now. You're no longer that broke hustler. The woman by your side should reflect your current status." Though Namdi laughed it off, the words lingered. Soon, similar remarks came from others in his new circle. During a site inspection, a wealthy client casually remarked, "Your girlfriend does makeup for a living? You should consider settling down with a corporate woman, someone who matches your new image." An influencer he met while finalizing a deal said bluntly, "You're too successful now to be with someone who still looks local. You need a woman who complements your lifestyle." At first it was subtle pressure, then it became shame disguised as advice. And over time those words began to influence how Namdi viewed Ada. He no longer saw her sacrifices as love and loyalty. Instead, he began to associate her with the life he was trying to leave behind. The sleepless nights, the empty pockets, the struggles, her simple clothing, her dedication to her small business, her braided hair, her kind, genuine heart. To his new standards, she no longer fit the image. He started to see her not as a partner, but as a burden. And in his desire to reinvent himself and prove that he had truly made it, he made the most devastating decision of all. He let her go. When he met Amara, the elegant and light-skinned daughter of a prominent property investor, it all made sense to him. She brought with her not only beauty and sophistication, but also access to elite connections and capital. She became everything his inflated ego now desired. In his mind, Ada was now too basic. It started with small changes. Namdi stopped waiting up for her when she got home late from a client's house. He no longer asked how her day went. He became easily irritated and snapped at the smallest things. If the stew was too salty or the floor had a little dust, he would complain bitterly. "Why is the house like this, Ada? Are you not at home all day?" he barked one evening, even though he knew she had gone to 4 different homes to do hair for some bridesmaids. "Namdi, you know I've been working since morning and I'm really tired. But why the sudden change, though?" She tried to explain, but he waved her off and stormed into the bedroom. Now Ada wept bitterly. Is this really Namdi and what has gotten into him? But she brushed it off, saying it might be stress from work. But it didn't stop there. Namdi started sleeping outside. At first, he claimed he was spending more time on site, working late into the night. "I'm doing this for us," he'd say with a half smile. "I know now, but at least let me feel your presence in the house. We no longer have date night and cook together in the house anymore. You're not even taking about marriage or the future we've been talking about after your breakthrough." "What is happening?" Ada said bitterly. "You can't tell me what to do and be commanding me around. I'm the man of the house, and when I'm ready, I will do the necessary. But for now, get off my face now," Namdi said angrily. Ada stormed off to the bed and cried her heart out. She really missed her family and wished she never made the decision to follow Namdi. But she can't back out now. Nobody was going to eat the fruit of her labor, and maybe Namdi was just testing him. But soon he stopped coming home at all. He'd appear once in a while to change his clothes, pick up documents, and disappear again. Ada's heart grew heavier with each passing day. Then one afternoon, while she was braiding a client's hair in the compound, A neighbor came to her quietly. "Ada, a beg no vex, but you suppose hear this," the woman said hesitantly. "I saw Namdi at a restaurant with one fine yellow girl. Them know they behave like business partners, oh." The girl was sitting on his lap. Ada's hands froze mid-braid. "No, it's a lie," she whispered, forcing a smile. "You must have seen someone else. My Namdi can't do that to me," she said to the woman. "We will be getting married soon. He's promised never to betray me," but deep down, something cracked. What if she was saying the truth, but she brushed it off once again? Planning to confront him when he comes home. That evening, she waited for him. He didn't come home. The next day, she went to his construction site. The workers looked at her like a stranger. "Madam, he no day here," one of them said. "In fact, he hasn't been around for days." "Please, who are you to him now, so that we can tell him when he comes around?" Her heart sank. Her head spun. She called him repeatedly, but his number was switched off. What could be happening? Is this really real life? And then 3 days later, she saw the photos on Instagram while she was trying to post on her page. Namdi, dressed in a crisp white agbada, standing beside a fair-skinned woman in a lavish gown. A small caption below read, "Forever with my peace, my ride or die, my real supporter." Ada stared at the screen, her hands shaking, her chest burning. He had married someone else, without a word, without a goodbye. Everything went black. For months, she stopped taking braid appointments. She locked herself up for days, the once bustling corner now dull and silent. Her neighbors whispered. Some pretended to be concerned. Others didn't bother hiding their mockery. "She helped that boy and he dumped her? Ah, women will learn. Nashide form manager. See him now." Ada stayed curled on her mattress most days, barely eating, barely moving. Her mirror gathered dust, and so did her ring light and braiding tools. Her dreams felt like ashes in her throat. She kept thinking, how did I become the joke after all I did? He used me. He stood on my back to climb, and now I'm the one left crawling. Ada was laying down one quiet afternoon when Chisholm knocked on her door, one of her most loyal customers, a mother of 3 who had become more like family over the years. "Ada, open this door before I break it," Chisholm said sternly from outside. "You think hiding will change anything?" Ada opened it, her eyes swollen and puffy. Chisholm took one look at her and sighed. "So this is what you've reduced yourself to because of a man?" She entered the room, looked around at the mess, then sat beside Ada and pulled her into a hug. "Cry, if you must," she whispered, "but don't stay down. That boy may have betrayed you, but he didn't break you." Ada sniffled, silent. "You're still the same woman who turned a tiny corner shop into a known brand. The same girl who turned heads with her braids, made clients feel like queens. Namdi didn't make you. You made him." Ada's tears started again, but this time they were softer. Healing. "You're going to bounce back, Ada," Chisholm said firmly. "And when you do, you'll shine so bright, he'll regret not being blinded by your light when he had the chance." For the first time in days, Ada nodded, not fully convinced, but holding on to the flicker of belief someone else had in her. She wasn't ready to braid again, but she was ready to try. The few months that followed, Ada moved on and started taking clients again. The sun was harsh that afternoon, and Ada had just finished a long, draining home service appointment. Her back ached, and her head throbbed from lack of food and rest. Still, she forced herself to stop by the small grocery shop near her street to get a few groceries from the mall. She was bending to take a sack of onions when a familiar, deep voice cut through the air. "Babe, you know say I go buy you anything you want. Just pick. I'm the real Adagwu." She froze. Her heart recognized that voice before her eyes did. She turned around. And there he was, Namdi, wearing a designer shirt, sunglasses, and slippers that looked too clean for someone who once bathed with rainwater in their uncompleted building. Beside him stood the same fair-skinned woman from Instagram, chewing gum like she owned the shop. Ada's mouth went dry, her fingers trembling. She didn't know what pushed her, but she walked up to him, eyes wide and tired. "Namdi, my love, please, can we talk?" she whispered. He looked her over like she was filth. "Talk? Talk about what, Ada? You again? Can't you just accept your fate and move on with your life? He said loudly, drawing attention. Please now. Ada knelt down in front of everyone, tears already forming. I know things went bad, but I still love you. We can fix this. I just want us back. This is not how my Namdi used to be. Oh. People in the shop were already whispering. The fair-skinned lady scoffed and rolled her eyes. Namdi laughed, loud, mocking, evil. Look at you. You even get mouth to talk about love looking like this? Your skin dry, your hair rough, you done old finish. You're not my type anymore. You were a stepping stone. That's all. Ada gasped, the shame washing over her like rain. And then, with wicked delight, Namdi opened a cold sachet of water, stared at her for a second, and poured it all over her head. You needed to cool off, he said, and strolled out of the shop with his wife, laughing like a demon. Ada sat there, soaked, humiliated, and heartbroken. That night she went home, locked her door, turned off her phone, and cried until her eyes burned. But as the tears soaked her pillow, something shifted in her spirit. This will be the last time I cry over any man, she whispered to herself. I gave everything I had, and he tossed me like trash. But I'll rise. I'll turn my life around. He will see me again, and he will regret it. Months passed. Ada worked harder than ever. Her skill kept improving, and her client base grew. One day she got called to style the hair of a woman named Madame Ebby, a rich boutique owner whose daughter was getting married. After the event, Madame Ebby looked at her and smiled. You're very talented, Ada. Have you ever thought of opening your own salon? Ada chuckled tiredly. Auntie, I'd manage like this for now. Send me your account details. I believe in rewarding excellence. 2 weeks later, Ada received 5 million naira in her account. She screamed so loud the whole compound thought something was wrong. That money changed everything. Ada opened her dream salon in Lekki, Golden Touch by Ada. It was classy, fully air-conditioned, and painted with soft pink and gold. Celebrities started booking sessions with her. Her Instagram page blew up. She was featured in magazines, got calls to braid abroad for fashion shows, and even had bookings in the UK and Ghana. She moved into her own apartment, bought a small Toyota Corolla, and hired staff to work under her. Her glow came back, her beauty, her joy, her confidence. As karma has it, Nami's life crumbled within some few years. His so-called wife turned out to be a runs girl. She drained his account, demanded expensive wigs, clothes, body enhancement surgeries, and exotic vacations. When she said she was flying to South Africa for a business trip, she was actually going to meet her sugar daddy in Cape Town. Namdi found out the hard way. Her phone mistakenly synced to his iPad, and he saw all the conversations, pictures, and hotel bookings. He nearly ran mad. With shame and heartbreak, he began drinking heavily. One night, drunk and staggering, he tried to cross the road near 3rd Junction and was hit by a car. He survived, but with a broken leg and become crippled. He has no help now. He was forced to move back to the village. One day, years later, he saw Ada on TV, smiling and radiant, being interviewed on a popular morning show. She's such an inspiration, the host said. From betrayal to breakthrough, Ada is the definition of beauty, strength, and resilience. Namdi turned off the TV, covered his face, and wept. Why did I let such a good woman go like that? But for Ada, life was just beginning. She had turned her pain into power, and this time, she wasn't doing it for love. She was doing it for herself.